Hey, Rodney, we're still waiting for you, Rodney.
Boy, Rodney. This is one of the 2 instrumental pieces on the album.
So the basis of this instrumental is kind of an odd chord progression.
When Peter brought this song to practice, it was just a chord progression.
It goes from B minor to D to A sharp major to G.
B, D, B flat, and G.
When we first started playing it in the basement, I said to Jason, why don't you give us one of those Radiohead type beats, kind of like the ones that you find on Kid A?
He said, think Radiohead.
He laid that down, we started playing the chords over top of it. We came up with the different parts.
How we did this song the first time in practice, the keys and the bass and most of the drums, much of the guitar part, is essentially how it sounds on the album.
But we hadn't really structured it, so we had these distinct parts that we knew that we would play throughout, and we just hadn't sequenced them as yet. And when it came time to record in the basement, Jason and I kind of made some decisions on how many of the progressions would go through at different points and how it would be broken up. And so we were counting off the bars and measures and ultimately decided on the structure.
The arpeggiator is actually my only contribution to that song. Peter did all of the rest of the synth parts on his Roland SH32.
So beyond the actual chord progression, John lays down this really neat sequence, and then I lay down some guitar synth throughout and a couple other synth lines. And Mike's bass lines, he starts off really straight and then he progressively gets more and more involved and really complicates the line a little bit. Just a ton of energy between the drum beat and the bass and the arpeggiator. I really find that there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of fun in the progression, and I'm really, really happy with the way that it turned out.
We do play this live, but it's tricky. There are tons of layers of synth parts on the recorded version, and so I have to come up with an approximation of that sound. It's a real symphony of patch changes, and I really had to practice not so much the notes of the song as changing back and forth from the patches. So I worked it out kind of like this. When a song starts, Jason lays down a beat. I have to tap a key to sync the arpeggiator with his drums. The speed is, of course, slightly different every time we play it live. When we come to the breakdown, I switch patches to the computer-generated noise. At the same time, I play a single note of the solo, hold that with my sustain pedal, and then just before we kick back into the arpeggiator, I have to switch tones quickly, resync the arpeggiator with the drums, and then I play the arpeggiator with my right hand and play the synth solo with my left.
Now the breakdown in the middle where we do that heavy D chord and the drum rolls and such, that wasn't part of the plan in the basement, but felt that too much of one progression would just get a little bit monotonous, so we added that to it. Plus in the breakdown there's a lot of noise that's going on there, and a lot of that is just synthesizer, random synth noise, random guitar noise, and it's just kind of compounded layer upon layer and adds to the overall transition effect of that breakdown. And when it came time to name it, it was a little bit hard because I didn't really have any lyrics for it. It wasn't a song, it was an instrumental. Trying to come up with something that was fun and lighthearted. And actually I was pouring through some old recordings and happened across one that I had recorded in Las Vegas.
Peter has a backstory about this song, about being down south on a work trip.
Now I had been down in Las Vegas. I was down there for work, and I was on my way down to the Strip.
He's wandering around the city at night.
And I was hearing all this heavy bass and crowd noise over in one of the parking lots. And I looked over and I saw a bunch of lights and things like that. I saw tons of people around.
And he stumbles upon,
maybe against my better judgment,
a drag racing event.
For $5 I could go into where there were all these hydraulic cars, all these tricked out cars. There was lots of street meat, there was a DJ, there was music blaring. You know, there were lots of tables set up with mixtapes and all this paraphernalia. The DJ, he was calling out one of the drivers and he was like, "Boy Rodney, boy Rodney."
And so Peter takes a field recording of the event, and that's what you hear at the beginning of the song.
And so when I heard that on the recording, and I thought, "Boy Rodney, that's a good name for the instrumental."
Wow, dude, really? Wow. Like, really? Wow.